Welcome everyone. Today we're going to go through the third part of this .NET tutorial from official Microsoft documentation. Today we're going to examine the Razor pages that we created in the previous two tutorials. First, let's come and examine the pages/movies folder, which is, let's see, everything unfolded it's looking like this, but today we're going to open pages, to be more specific, movies folder. In this folder, first let's take a look at index.cs html.cs page, this one. Razor pages are basically derived from PageModel. By convention, PageModel-derived class is called page name and then model. The constructor uses dependency injection (DI) to add RazorPagesMovieContext to the page. All the scaffolded pages follow this pattern. When a request is made for the page, the OnGetAsync method returns a list of movies to the Razor page. OnGetAsync or OnGet is called on the Razor page to initialize the state for the page. In this case, OnGetAsync gets a list of movies and displays them. When OnGet returns void, or OnGetAsync returns a task object, no return method is used. You see in this method, object mod body, there is no return method. However, when the return type is iActionResult or task iActionResult, a return statement must be provided. A good example is we can take a look at create.cs.html.cs. On post-async, for example, the return result is task iActionResult. A return method is required. Next, we can take a look at index.cs HTML page, this one. Razor can transition from HTML into C# or into Razor specific markup when an @ symbol, this one, you can see my cursor. When an @ symbol is followed by a Razor reserved keyword, it transitions into Razor specific markup. Otherwise, it transitions into C# code. The add page Razor directive makes the file into an MVC action, which means that this one can handle requests. The add page must be the first Razor directive on the page. As you can see, for example, in this file, add page is the very first directive in this entire file. Add page is an example of transitioning into Razor specific markup. Of course, we are going to discuss more details about Razor specific markups in later videos. Now we can take a look at, we can examine the lambda expression used in the following HTML helper. For example, display name for, this one. This is this display name for HTML helper inspects the title property referenced in the lambda expression to determine the display name. One thing to point out is that the lambda expression is inspected rather than evaluated. What that means is there is going to be no access violation when model movie index 0 is null or even empty. However, on the other hand, when the lambda expression is evaluated, as we can see here, is evaluated, the model's property values are evaluated. Next, let's take a look at another directive, the second line, model, add model directive. The add model directive specifies the type of the model passed to the Razor page. In this example, the add model line makes PageModel-derived class available to the Razor page. The model is used in the @html.displayName for here and @HTML_display for here. That's about this add model directive. Then continue on, we can take a look at the layout page, which is residing here. Under shared, we can take a look at _layout.cs HTML. As we looked up, okay, do we still have .NET run? Let's start our web server. It's going to take a few seconds to start. Okay, now it has started. Where's my web page? Okay, so here, let me refresh. So you see when we click home or privacy, it's going to show the same layout. Where do we get that decided? Where do we have that determined? That is in this _layout.cs HTML page. Layout page, this file is a template which allows you to specify the HTML container layout of your site in one place and then apply it across multiple pages in your site, as we can just see, right? In home and privacy, they all have the same layout. Then let's try to search for one method called render body. It is right here. Render body. This is a placeholder where all the page-specific views you create is going to show up, wrapped in the layout page. For example, as we just did, if we click privacy page, pages/privacy.cs HTML, where do we go? For example, we click privacy. Pages/privacy.cs HTML page is going to be rendered inside the render body method. Then we can take a look at PagesMovie. Close this, PagesMovie index.cs HTML. Let's come back to this file. We can see this one. Now let's take a look at this part of the code. This code is an example of Razor transitioning into C#. This curly bracket, this and this characters, these curly braces characters enclose a block of C# code. Here, this part is C# code. The page model base class has a view data directory, a dictionary property that can be used to add data that you want to pass to a view. You add objects into the view data dictionary, which is here. View data dictionary. This is dictionary. You can see this is the key, using the key value pattern. In this example, you can see title is the key and index is the value. We add this one to the dictionary. And then later on, we see the title property is being used in here. Let's open _layout.cs HTML again. In this markup, let's search for title. You can see it's being used here, right? Very clear and straightforward and easy to follow. This line is a markup language. Let's see. Is a Razor comment which doesn't appear in your layout file. Now let's try to do something fun. We can update the layout. Let's see title. Let's update the title. For example, here. Let's update the title to change this one. Instead of Razor Pages Movie, let's just make it short to make it to be movie. With that changed, then we need to find the anchor element also in this file. It should be navbar brand, this one. We find this line. Let's also change this one into, right now it's RazorPagesMovie. Let's change it into shorter, RP movie. Save it. The preceding anchor element is a tag helper. In this case, it's the anchor tag helper. The ASP page attribute, and this tag helper attribute and value creates a link to the index Razor page. The ASP area attribute value is empty, as you can see here. So the area isn't used in the link. I have saved my changes, and now that we can open up the test page and to take a look. I believe I don't need to restart my app. Let's just refresh it. Let's refresh it. Boom, you see this is RP movie. It's not RazorPagesMovie app anymore, right? The layout property is set in this, in pages _ view start.cs HTML page. You can see this entire file has only 3 lines, which is basically setting the layout. Now we can take a look at PagesMovie create.cs file. You can come and take a look here. There is the OnGet method. This method initializes any state needed for the page. The create page doesn't have any state to initialize, so page, just this single empty page, is returned. Of course, later in the tutorial, in later videos, we're going to inspect OnGet method initializes state. This page method creates a page result object that renders the create.cs HTML page. The movie object uses the bind property attribute to opt in to model binding. When the create form posts the form values, the ASP.NET call runtime binds the posted values to the movie model. Then let's take a look at OnPostAsync. This method is run when the page posts form data. If there are any model errors, the form is redisplayed, along with any form data posted. Most model errors can be caught on the client side before the form is posted. An example of a model error is posting a value for the date field that cannot be converted into a date. Of course, we are going to discuss and examine more about client-side validation and model validation. If there are no model errors, the data is saved, the browser is redirected to the index page. Now we can take a look at the other part of the pair, which is create.cs HTML file. This is this one. This form method post. This element is a form tag helper. The form tag helper automatically includes an anti-forgery token. The scaffolding engine creates a Razor markup for each field in the model, similar to this following. The validation tag helpers, for example, ESP validation summary, this one, display any validation errors. Of course, we're going to cover more validation errors. We're going to cover more validation mechanism in later tutorials. And then we have ASP4. This one generates the label caption and for attribute for the title property. That's all about it for this. This is what we did today to cover, to examine, to inspect the the scaffolding folders and files that we created in the last two tutorials. And in the following tutorial, we're going to cover more, and we're going to cover a brand new topic, which is to work with the database in .NET Core technology. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. That would be great.